What's good, YouTube? This is Boxingwave, and we're back with another fight breakdown. This is going to be my fourth breakdown for the Day of Reckoning fight card that's on tomorrow. Again, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the channel. I will be here all day tomorrow covering the entire card. So definitely come through, check me out. Dmitry Bivol is going to be fighting Lyndon Arthur. He's going to be defending his WBA light heavyweight title. Okay. Bivol has not been in the ring for over a year. The last time he fought Gilberto Ramirez, where he defended his title against his mandatory. He also fought Canelo Alvarez earlier that year, last year, but he hasn't fought at all in 2023. Arthur, on the other hand, has fought 3 times since, within that same amount of time. He's fought 3 times since Bivol has fought, so he's been very active. Not against the same kind of opposition, but he has been active, right? He fought twice in 2023, and he fought once late last year, all right? Age-wise, they're both roughly around the same age. Bivol just turned 33. Arthur is 32 years old. Arthur has maybe a couple inches on Bivol in height, and he does have the longer reach as well. But as far as resumes, there are levels between them. I mean, Bivol has been in there with some of the top contenders in the division. You know, it seems like whoever he didn't beat already, better BF beat. You know, so as far as like resumes, the only resumes that you can really compare at 175 are the 2 champions, better BF and Bivol. All right, you could go either way or how you feel about that. So let's talk about the fight, man. And, you know, regardless how strongly my opinions are, I'm still going to give you a fair assessment of a fight. You know, Lyndon Arthur is a respectable opponent. All right. He's respectable. He does have some skills. You know, he did beat Anthony Yard. He did beat him in the first fight. He got stopped by him in the most recent fight that they had. But overall, he's a good boxer. He has a good jab. He's good at controlling distance and using that range. He's pretty solid defensively. I think there are some flaws there with him, but for the most part, he's a solid guy with a good jab, a good 1-2. He goes to the body every now and then, but he's a solid boxer. I don't see anything particularly special about him, though. You know, there's nothing about him that stands out. And when I compare him to some of the other fighters that Bivol has faced, Bivol's been in there with Isaac Chinlimba, who reminds me of him. He's been in there with a Craig Richards, who is another fighter that has some similarities there. So, you know, while doing some film study on them both, you know, I'm looking at the fighters that match their abilities, you know, and styles and stuff like that. And Bivol being an orthodox fighter, I think he's just leagues above whoever Arthur has faced, even Anthony Yard, who stopped him. So, you know, again, styles make fights, but, you know, Bivol, to me, is one of the best fighters in the world. Okay, pound for pound. He's one of the best out there. He too, you know, being that he's a smaller guy at 175 and he's not one of the bigger punchers up there, for him to beat the fighters that he's beaten and going to these fights. Listen, he's fought Zerto Ramirez. He's fought Joe Smith Jr., Sullivan Barrera, John Pascal. All right, he's going to fight some guys that can crack. And he was able to exchange with them and sometimes hurt them or stop them in some of these exchanges. I think Joe Smith might have been the only one that was able to like hurt Bivol more than once, you know, in their fight. But Bivol never got dropped and was able to battle and fight, not just outbox. And how can I not mention Canelo in that little random names that I just threw out there? He was able to go in a pocket with these guys and have exchanges with them and still get hit and still stand there his ground against these fighters. So when I look at Lyndon Arthur, he's not the biggest puncher. He doesn't have the best punch resistance. He doesn't have. He's not a high volume guy. He doesn't have the combinations like a Devin Haney would throw. You know what I mean? Devin Haney's another fighter that has a good jab, that knows how to control range and all of that stuff, but that can mix it up as well. And when I say mix it up, the punch variations are always different. You can't just always assume he's just going to throw the 1-2. He's going to change up the combinations with every time he throws them. He's giving you something different, and I don't see any of these tricks with Lyndon Arthur. It's just pretty much he has a jab. You know, when things get kind of rough, he'll lock you up. He'll defend himself, but I don't see much in his game that would give Bivol an issue. And even though Bivol hasn't been that active, I've seen him take longer breaks and come back and still look good against like a Craig Richards, who I think is on the same par as Lyndon Arthur stylistically, and both just based on who they fought. You know, I just think they're kind of roughly around the same level. I'm not going to get into who I think is better between the two, but they're roughly around the same level. You know, whoever's better between them two, it won't be by much. So, you know, I was trying to find a ways where I can see Lyndon winning or even having some success here. And I think, of course, you know, he can land some good jabs and land some good right hands because he does have a good 1-2. He does have good timing. You know, Bivol is a guy that he feints a lot. He does fight in a high guard, but he's very active. He's parrying, he's dropping, and changing the lead hand. He's doing a lot with the lead hands. You know, he's often dropping it, bringing it back up while bouncing and feinting. He likes to step in. He can step in and close the gap real quick, let off the combinations. And then sometimes you just never know with him. Sometimes he goes into a straight exchange with you when you least expect it. You know, so even when you're trying to counter him and catch him in between the punches, he doesn't do it so often, so you don't know when he's doing it. You know what I mean? So he's a difficult puzzle to solve. You know, you saw it in a Canelo fight. Canelo just could not figure him out. And his timing is really, really tricky. You know, and even though he doesn't have a long reach and he's not really that tall or big overall, he's just he's real tricky when he steps in with the jab. And you don't know when it's just going to be the jab. Most of the time it's just the jab. And then sometimes he's throwing 3-4 punches right after each other. You just don't know. He's very, very tricky. And again, he's not a huge puncher, but he's a big enough a puncher where people respect him. No one has just walked through his punches. You know, and if you look at his last fight against Zurdo Ramirez, which people wouldn't want to admit it now, but in that time, I believe Bivol was definitely a favorite. But you got to remember, Ramirez at the time was a guy that people thought Canelo and Bivol was avoiding. Okay, even more so than like a Benavidez. So, with all that being said, I watch a fight like that where Bivol is hurting him, right? And he's battling with him. He's just not just outboxing him. He's going to war with him. He's getting tagged too. I just don't think that Lyndon Arthur can compete with him. You know, and I think this breakdown is more so about whether or not Bivol is going to stop him. How is he going to win? Like, I know he's going to win. I believe for him to win this fight, clear. But is it going to be by decision or is it going to be by stoppage? And it really depends on what kind of fight Bivol is willing to give, because he likes to fight, but he's still smart, you know, and I don't feel like he's reckless. All right. So I think Bivol beats him. I am leaning towards a knockout. I know he hasn't had a knockout since Sullivan Barrera. But being that Lyndon Arthur, you know, I know Yard is very explosive and he's a bigger puncher probably. I just think that Lyndon Arthur just doesn't have the arsenal to keep Bivol away. And I think there are going to be moments where Bivol is going to want to exchange. And just basing off Lyndon Arthur's most recent win against Suarez, good comeback win. He did get a body stoppage late after being down earlier in the fight against a pretty aggressive fighter. It's just when I look at those fights, and even like Yard, I'm a huge Yard fan. You know, I freaking flew out there to watch him fight. I don't think Yard is on a level with Bivol. I think Bivol would outbox him with ease. And I just think that overall, I just got to go with Bivol. And I think Bivol might get a stoppage here. All right, that's what I'm going for. So anyway, I have Bivol by late stoppage in this fight. Maybe ninth round, something like that. And it could go to a decision, but Bivol's going to win the fight. Lyndon's a good fighter, but he doesn't bring anything new to the table here. There's fighters that's similar, and there's fighters that are better that Bivol had dispatched of. And I just don't think Lyndon is going to be able to match him. All right, so please subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys Saturday. Peace.